You set the alarm for 5 in the morning. You told yourself this time it would be different. But when that alarm rang, you turned it off. And you already knew what would happen next. Here is what no one ever told you. The reason you can't stay disciplined has almost nothing to do with laziness. It has everything to do with how your brain was wired long before you ever tried. And once you understand the psychology behind it, discipline stops feeling like a war you keep losing. It starts feeling like a game you finally know how to play. Let me introduce you to Marcus. Marcus was a 32-year-old marketing director living in London. By every visible measure, he was doing well, good salary, nice apartment, respected at work. But Marcus had a private struggle. Every Sunday night, he would plan his week with military precision. Workout at 6, deep work from 7 to 9. No social media before noon. By Tuesday, the plan was already dead. Marcus wasn't weak. Marcus wasn't unmotivated. Marcus was simply caught inside what psychologists call the comfort gravity loop. Here is how it works. Your brain is a survival machine. Its number one job is not to make you successful. Its job is to protect you from discomfort. Every time you try to build a new habit, waking early, eating clean, doing deep focused work, your brain registers that new behavior as a threat. Not because it is dangerous, but because it is unfamiliar. And the brain treats the unfamiliar the same way it treats the dangerous. It pulls you back toward what it knows, what is safe, what is easy. This is not a character flaw. This is neuroscience. The brain's default network, the part that fires when you do nothing, is extraordinarily powerful. And here is the quiet tragedy. The longer you operate inside your comfort zone, the stronger that gravitational pull becomes. So when Marcus felt that invisible force dragging him back to Netflix and late nights, he wasn't failing. His brain was simply doing exactly what it was designed to do. The problem wasn't his willpower. The problem was that he never understood the battlefield he was standing on. I want you to think about someone you know. Maybe it is a friend. Maybe it is you. Someone who wakes up every morning with genuine desire to change. They want to be financially smart, physically strong, mentally sharp. But by nightfall, they feel like a stranger to themselves. There's a psychological concept called identity dissonance, and it is one of the most underestimated reasons discipline collapses. Here is what it means. Your behavior will always follow the identity you hold about yourself. Not the identity you want, the identity you actually believe. Think about Priya. Priya grew up watching her father struggle with money. As a child, she absorbed a quiet, invisible story. People like us work hard and still barely get by. She never said those words out loud. She didn't even think them consciously. But that story lived inside her nervous system. Years later, Priya became an accountant in Manchester. She earned well, but every time she tried to build wealth habits, investing, saving seriously, thinking long-term, something inside her would quietly sabotage it. She would justify a luxury purchase she didn't need. She would miss an investment deadline. She would convince herself it was fine to start next month. Priya wasn't self-destructive. She was identity loyal. Her subconscious mind was simply keeping her consistent with the person she secretly believed she was. This is the deepest layer of the discipline problem. Most people try to change their actions before changing their identity. But actions without a new identity are just performances. And performances always tire out. The real shift happens when you stop asking what should I do and start asking who am I becoming. Because discipline is not a skill, it is a self-image. And the moment you begin to see yourself differently, the battle becomes dramatically easier. In the early 1990s, a young man named Howard Schultz was working relentlessly to build something. He had already faced 67 rejections from investors. 67 times, someone told him his vision was wrong. But what made Schultz remarkable was not stubbornness. It was a specific psychological principle that psychologists now call temporal commitment. Most people make promises to their future self. I'll be disciplined starting Monday. I'll get serious when the timing is right. I'll focus once things calm down. But Schultz operated differently. He made his decisions in the present as if the future version of himself was already watching. There is a powerful study conducted at Stanford University where researchers discovered something striking. People who were shown digitally aged versions of themselves, what they would look like at 70, immediately began making better long-term decisions. Not because they suddenly had more information, but because they felt emotionally connected to their future self. This is the discipline secret most people miss entirely. Discipline feels impossible when your future self feels like a stranger. When you imagine your future self, do they feel real to you, familiar, worth protecting? Or do they feel distant, abstract, like a character in a story that may never come true? Because here's the truth psychology reveals. The further your future self feels from your present identity, the easier it is for your brain to sacrifice your long-term goals for short-term relief. Every time you skip the morning routine, your brain is not being lazy. It is making a rational trade. because you haven't given it a compelling reason to protect the future version of you. Schultz built Starbucks into one of the most recognized brands on earth, not because he had more willpower than anyone else, but because his present self and his future self were operating as one. Every decision, every sacrifice, every early morning was made for someone he could already see and already respect. Here is the uncomfortable truth. The world has sold you a lie about discipline. It told you discipline is about forcing yourself, about white-knuckling through resistance, about being tougher, colder, more unfeeling. But every person who has ever achieved anything lasting will tell you the same thing. Discipline never felt like punishment. It felt like alignment. When your daily actions match who you believe you are, when your future self feels close enough to protect, when your identity has been rewritten at the root level, waking up early doesn't feel like discipline anymore. It feels like loyalty to yourself. The real enemy was never procrastination. It was disconnection from your purpose, from your future, from the story you tell yourself in the dark. You were never broken. You were just running someone else's operating system. And the moment you install your own, everything changes. So let's make this real. Because information without application is just entertainment. The first shift: understand your brain, not fight it. Stop believing resistance means weakness. It means your brain is doing its job. Your task is to slowly and consistently make the uncomfortable feel familiar. Not through force, through repetition. The second shift: rewrite your identity before you redesign your habits. Ask yourself what the version of you that you genuinely admire looks like. Then make one small decision today as that person, not a massive overhaul. One honest decision. That is how the new identity takes root. The third shift: close the distance to your future self. Write a letter to who you intend to become 5 years from now. Describe their mornings, their mindset, their habits, their peace. Read it often. Feel connected to that person. Because once you love your future self, the present sacrifice stops feeling like loss. It starts feeling like a gift. Discipline was never the destination. It is simply what happens when a person finally decides who they are. The question is no longer whether you can be disciplined. The real question is, who are you deciding to become? Think about that.